In May 2025, Britain signed away its last African colony. Headlines called it historic. Mauritius finally got its islands back after 60 years. But here's what didn't make the headlines. The day before the meeting that started all this, a British official wrote a memo. September 22nd, 1965. His exact words: "The object is to frighten him with hope. Hope that he might get independence. Fright lest he might not unless he is sensible about the detachment of the Chagos archipelago." The Prime Minister who signed the 2025 deal, his father was the man sitting across from Harold Wilson in 1965, being told to hand over those islands or forget about independence. 60 years later, the son gets them back. Sort of. Because the 2,000 people Britain deported, they're still not allowed to go home, and Mauritius agreed to keep it that way. So, what made these islands worth threatening a country's independence over? Diego Garcia sits in the middle of the Indian Ocean, with striking distance of the Persian Gulf, South Asia, East Africa, one of the best natural harbors in the world. By the 1960s, the Pentagon was watching colonies become independent nations. Nations that didn't always want American bases on their soil. They needed somewhere remote, somewhere without political complications. The phrase, "exclusive control without local inhabitants," is from the planning documents. The goal wasn't just a military base. It was a base with no voters, no journalists, no one who might ask questions at the United Nations. There was just one problem. About 1,500 people already lived there. The Chagossians had been on those islands for generations, descendant from enslaved and indentured laborers with their own distinct culture. So Britain decided to solve that problem, first on paper, then in reality. September 23rd, 1965, the morning after that memo was written, Harold Wilson met with Sivugasur Ramgoolam, the Premier of Mauritius, at Lancaster House in London, and Wilson made the situation clear. The Premier and his colleagues could return to Mauritius either with independence or without it. That is a direct quote from the meeting notes. "Give us the islands or you don't become a country." Now, think about what's happening here. Ramgoolam isn't negotiating as the leader of an independent nation. He is a colonial subject sitting across from the government that still controls his country, being told what to do. The ICJ would later apply what they called heightened scrutiny to this moment. Their conclusion: Britain's so-called consent from Mauritius was not based on the free and genuine expression of the will of the people concerned. Britain paid £3 million, and on November 8, 1965, 3 years before Mauritius would even become independent, the UK passed the British Indian Ocean Territory Order. Using an archaic royal prerogative, no parliamentary vote required. They carved out the Chagos archipelago and created a brand new colony. The paperwork was done, now they just had to empty the islands. The deportation happened in stages, and it was calculated. The only way between Chagos and Mauritius was by cargo ship. So, starting in 1969, Chagossians who left the islands to visit family, for example, found that they couldn't come back. Their work contracts had expired. The ship wouldn't take them. Rita Bancoult was one of them. A steamship company representative told her directly, "Your island has been sold. You will never go there again." Then the supplies started drying up. Less food, less medicine. The message wasn't subtle: leave or starve. Those who stayed got it clearer. Chagossians reported being told they'd be bombed or shot if they refused to go. And then there were the dogs. Before the final deportations, British agents rounded up the Chagossians' pets. Hundreds of dogs, herded them into a sealed shed and ran exhaust fumes from military vehicles into the building. They gassed them and then burned the bodies. The families waiting to be deported watched it happen. Between 1967 and 1973, somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 Chagossians were left on docks in Mauritius and the Seychelles. No housing arranged, no jobs, and no support. One survivor put it this way: It's as if I was pulled from my paradise to put me in hell. For decades, Mauritius pushed this through international law, and in 2019, they got their ruling. I went through the ICJ opinion, all 56 pages. The language isn't ambiguous. 13 judges to 1 found that Britain's decolonization of Mauritius was not lawfully completed when they carved out Chagos. The court's exact words: "The United Kingdom's continued administration of the Chagos archipelago constitutes a wrongful act entailing the international responsibility of that state." Now, to be fair to the UK position, and I want to present the strongest version of their argument, Diego Garcia isn't just any base. B-52s flew from that atoll during the Afghanistan invasion. Prepositioned ships supplied the Gulf War. The facility supports GPS, nuclear test monitoring, and counter-piracy operations. Defense experts call it the single most important military facility between the Mediterranean and the Pacific. And the one dissenting judge, Joan Donoghue, made a serious legal argument. She said this was a bilateral sovereignty dispute, and by ruling on it, the ICJ was circumventing Britain's right to refuse judicial settlement. In her words, the court's decision undermined the integrity of the court's judicial function. But here's the problem with that argument. The ICJ didn't treat this as a simple land dispute, an obligation owed to the entire international community, and when 116 countries voted for Britain to withdraw and only 6 countries they voted against, bilateral dispute doesn't quite describe it anymore. London's response: the UK representative said Britain had no doubt about our sovereignty and dismissed the ruling as merely an advisory opinion. The 6-month deadline came and went. Britain stayed. Nothing changed. Until 2025, May 22nd, 2025, Britain finally signs over her sovereignty. Mauritius gets its territory back. Decolonization complete. Not quite, because when you read the treaty, it's more complicated, and this is where Mauritius deserves some scrutiny too. Diego Garcia, the island with the base, the whole reason any of this happened, stays under US-UK control for 99 years. With an option to extend for another 40, and potentially after that. Britain pays Mauritius about £101 million per year. Over the full term, roughly £3.4 billion. But here's what doesn't make the headlines. The Chagossians, the people who were actually deported, weren't at the table. A UK spokesperson confirmed they could not be part of the negotiations, as they were conducted on a state-to-state basis. 2 governments deciding the future of islands that belonged to neither of them originally. And the people who lived there, they were not invited. And when you read the treaty, there it is in black and white. Mauritius can resettle Chagossians on the other islands, but Diego Garcia, the island their families were removed from, is explicitly excluded for 99 years. This is where the story gets uncomfortable for everyone. The UK committed the original wrong, the deportation. The ICJ called it a wrongful act. The UK itself now admits it was shameful and wrong. But Mauritius agreed to this deal. They accepted the 99-year exclusion. They took the $3.4 billion, and they signed away the Chagossians' right to return to Diego Garcia for a century. In June 2025, UN human rights experts put out a statement saying the agreement fails to guarantee and protect the rights of the Chagossian people, including their right to return to Diego Garcia. There's a £40 million trust fund for the Chagossians, but as critics point out, there's no guarantee that fund will actually be controlled by Chagossians. The Chagossian community itself is divided. Oliver Bancoult of the Chagos refugee group called it a historic day, but other groups like Chagossian Voices oppose the deal because it doesn't include the full right of return. Legal analysts note the resettlement clause is, in substance, declaratory. It doesn't actually secure the right to return. It just says Mauritius is free to implement the program. That's not exactly the same thing. Diego Garcia remains exactly what the planning documents called for 60 years ago. Exclusive control without local inhabitants. There's something almost poetic about the Ramgulan story. In 1965, Harold Wilson sat across from Sibugasor Ramgulam and told him, "Give us these islands or you won't get independence." 60 years later, his son Navin signed the treaty that formally gets them back. But look at what actually changed. In 1965, Britain controlled the islands. The Chagossians couldn't go home. In 2025, Mauritius controls the islands on paper. Britain still controls Diego Garcia. The Chagossians still can go home. The UK calls it making amends. Mauritius calls it a great victory. But neither government asked the Chagossians what they wanted. The flag over Diego Garcia will change eventually. The base stays. And until the people who were born on those islands can decide their own future, you have to ask, is this decolonization, or is it just a rebranded lease with better PR?